Nobody comes on and who's on. Anyway, doesn't matter who's on. Who's meant to be here will be here. And that's how it goes. So hello everybody. I'll just give it a minute for everybody to come on. But this body was guided. It felt very moved yesterday by, the events going on. Saddened in a way. It's only because you're aware of what's going on and why. And then you feel sorry for those that aren't awake. For what's going on. Unconscious behavior, projections and fears going on out there. About, so you're watching all this happening. Shame. And yeah. And you can understand the mess out there and why it's happening. And it's sad. People are completely functioning on the program. They're listening to the thoughts, the brain, which is the brain only. It's only the physical body they're listening to. The thoughts belong to the physical body. It's all programs, which you are not it. So if you understand, the thoughts are part of the body. They belong to the body. It's memories accumulated in the so-called body that the body's hung on to. That's all they are. They have nothing to do with you, actually. They're just unconscious programs. Thoughts, beliefs, whatever you were told. Once you started believing you were a body, and you took on stories, my body, my mother, that's this, at school. So you identified with the body, the form, which is an illusion, which also then makes it solid. So the world seems solid, and you lose your connection with, as you believe, you think you've lost your connection with the one, but it's because you identified with the body, which is now looks like a real world, and whatever. In the Maya, as they say, the veil falls, and you think you are now stuck in the Maya. Anyway, there we are. This is what's going on, and you watch everything happening out there, and you see this, and you were aware because, so many unconscious programs are running in this body. Wow. And even the other day, actually, stuff was shown to this body. When you start this path, there's no going back. Or in this awakening or whatever happens, Kundalini awakening happens, the energy also starts working and cleaning all these programs out, whether you like it or not, as the Guru say, and they start surfacing. What people think is shadow work, it's the one doing it, and there's no separate one doing it. So all this stuff starts coming out the body, and those that are on this path start understanding that and you start going through all the shadows. So whatever you believed while you were asleep, how many games you've played, because there's such a thing as time, appearing in memory, say 100,000 lives and a million lives you've been playing this story or whatever. You start seeing all these lives and things that you've carried through. And then you realize also that the genetics of the body, family, like a so-called ancestry, and this is a story, when you've identified, it's affected as well. So you're carrying all that baggage and shadows, and you can see how you picked it up from your parents, from their behavior, and oh my gosh, so you end up in a big mess, depending how much baggage and trauma and stuff that was inherited by the family and the body, because that's all it is. Otherwise you wouldn't have any problems, because you wouldn't have identified with any of it. You wouldn't have believed you were a body and and you were all that sort of stuff. But when you do, you've taken on all this energy. So you've basically attached to these energies and formed a density. Stories, all the thoughts and whatever rubbish. It's thought you just, So anyway, never mind. Let's not go into all the details. So, as you say, things are shown to you, whether, to the body, you made aware to the character. Even though you don't want to see it, maybe you didn't know, it can be upsetting, humiliating, things that you've experienced. Whatever was hidden is brought up. So it was like, oh, did they really do that? And so it can be very hurtful. You are shown what people did to you. It's like, oh, wow, did they really? That wasn't nice, The other day there was the body almost felt sorry for itself. It started going into that because things were illuminated. Now, I thought this is actually fascinating because this body had so many of those, it was so blind to all these programs it was running, and life was, wow, hectic. So now it's seeing all these things. So it's really interesting. And it's seeing the things, because you can recognize it then in the collective as well. And you're understanding the programs. You can see that those, let's say the ruling, the kings, the queens, the rulers that have always been behind the scenes, the rulers and their fears and their programs. It's so transparent. Everything becomes so transparent. So you understand what they're up to and what their fears are and what they're projecting. And you can see the patterns, that's gone through time actually of their, collecting, squeezing the public for taxes. You can see how it's the games, and you can see their shadow. So you can see what they've been doing, unaware completely. The patterns are repeated. That as the humans are waking up, let's say the one is waking all these bodies up, you see the awakening has started and shaking all this shit out. So what's happening is the humans are becoming aware of their programs all over. What so-called you're allowing, let's say, those to abuse you, the government and others. See, it's all it's been shown. I mean, if you must stand from a neutral point of view. You must understand. This is coming up to show you. Yes, you've been allowing this kind of oppression. Of yourselves and by a few for a long time, and let them and just get their taxes and live off you, basically suck money. It's you've been supporting a few to live a good life. This has been going on for centuries. Actually, it's quite transparent when it ding dongs, and this is what's happening. It's starting to raise in the awareness, you see, because those are also, we cannot be angry with them either. So people are angry with the people. Oh, they go, whatever. And this is why this also is rising up, a big thing about the taxes, because this has been going on for a very long time, just disguised under different systems, but it's the same sort of story that's going on. Taking money from the collective, and a few benefit from the system. So this is really what's being brought up. But you are misguiding your anger and frustration, you see, because you've got to realize you are the one. You're not any of the bodies. That's the first thing people really have got to start becoming aware, self-aware. You are not a body. You're not even talking from the body. You're aware of the body. But when you start listening to the programs and the thoughts, that belongs to the body. That's the brain. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba. As though it's got a separate life. No, it's just a body story. So all the stories you've identified and attached with, it's an illusion. So it's trying to show you there is no, same with it's a tricky situation, because you can see the fear of those that are ruling or realizing they've kind of sucked the pot dry now, and they're frightened if things collapse. All the like Paris. You see, this is a fear going back in their ancestry. So I'm trying to explain it from a broader perspective, so you understand all the fears being projected out there. No blame, no finger pointing, no anger from anyone, because then there's a lack of understanding. All right, why they are frightened. They're frightened of, like the French story again. Oopsie, we're going to collapse everything because we've kind of sucked everything out. And now if everything collapses, you're going to come after them, hungry with your pitchforks, you kind of outnumber them. So they have this, they are actually in fear. And they're trying to project it out and prevent, and also in denial of their behavior, of the greed and corruption in the system that they created. It kind of got out of hand. So they are in denial of the bad behavior and, the plundering of the economic system, and the money and all the things that disappeared was mismanaged and misinvested. And they're trying to pretend because they're frightened. So you actually got to have compassion and understanding. They are frightened of being honest, looking at their shadow and saying, oh, actually, we did kind of, and correcting their own behavior or others that are done wrong. Let's say siphoned all the pension funds and their hedge funds and stolen all that, these big things, instead of just making you pay it out again. Instead of looking and saying, wow, we haven't behaved well, or in our businesses we need to change the way we're behaving. We are trying to cover it up, because thinking if they had to admit all the problems and all the mismanagement and skullduggery going on, then you'd be up in arms and come after them. Because majority are asleep, and majority, you see, they're pointing fingers and blame. So it's a funny paradigm if you look at it. You've got quite a few. I know one or two were frightened. Exactly, they were really frightened, even the lockdown, that you're going to come after them, and because they've got all the wealth and money, and if everyone's got nothing, if everything, they're gonna, when they get hungry, they're gonna come looking for food. You see, not realizing, well, we could actually share. We don't need that. So it's a very interesting paradigm if you will step back and not identify with either side or anybody. You see, you're not taking it personally, because we cannot solve the problem. You have your rulers and ruling class, same people for a long time, running the same subconscious programs of pillaging and gathering taxes, as the crowns have done for centuries. Go out there and collect more taxes, give them some story, we need a war, we need it for this, we need it for that. And you basically have supported them. They've had this theory that, that they identified with the bodies, and they came from this body, so this body is some special body, and I'm ex-Atlantean, whatever the story, whatever program they bought into, an illusion of story, right? They're a body, and I'm special, and my body is my genes, I've got blue blood, and da-da-da-da, whatever. So this program has been passed down to them. So they are running this, and it's okay to pillage, if you noticed in history, collect taxes and extract all the wealth, and and let the others sit in poverty and whatever else. So you really got to be compassionate and understand and be patient where the programming is coming from, and understand that they are in great fear. And they're in absolute denial. You can see this is why they're trying to play things up, but they understand. They're well aware that they're well outnumbered, as Paris story, and they don't want another Paris story where they all get everyone comes after them with pitchforks. Okay, so but it also takes some sort of owning up to the misbehavior and the system that they created, and dishonesty. Not being honest with the public in the same system, being deceitful about what they are up to and why they're doing things, like the system, the financial systems and the birth certificates. It was never to collect data on how many people, on the population, as people were told. Oh, it's register the birth. We just want you to register your birth so we know the population of the country. No, you see, there's been a lot of deceit why they were ever doing things, and with the financial system, it's not involving the public. So it's time we all need to do some reflection and look in the mirror, and grow up really, and start behaving with a bit. But if you are unconscious, you see, and you're listening to the thoughts, your focus is so in the thoughts itself, in the mind, that all you can see, there's no separation between you and the thoughts. You're identified as a human. There's no perception of anything else besides this body, the world's real. You see, you're in a very dense focal point. So we've got to be patient and understand our leaders aren't awake as well. So there's a lot of people out there in a lot of fear, because they're projecting it out there. In their fear, they're trying to push out this thing that, this big brother control thing, sell the theory. Also understand that some of them that are awake have been on this path. Okay, practice this. There's a few I actually know of that practice this, that are, in that state of consciousness. They can out the body, astral, remote view. So they have used that to benefit themselves and try and control, everybody else. Not in a good, always in a positive way, but that's out of fear again, you see. They benefit, they're doing well, they're scared of losing all their millions and their houses and their cars and their boats and their And exactly, if you guys go hungry now, shit's gonna. So yeah, we do need a change. We've all got to look at it, and we've got to realize the whole way we've been doing things is dysfunctional, but it takes us all looking. Because people can't also pretend that they are victims. So this is where a lot of things I'll go into. I'm just giving you some background and history here. Sorry, this thing is making such a noise. It's annoying, this thing. So some background and history will help here, because it's easy to say, oh, they. This is the problem. There's a lot of people blaming at the moment other bodies. When they are just bodies, it's still source, and they're running programs like I explained. Rulers and kings, if you notice what they've been doing for thousands of years, plundering and oppressing, taking money and extracting, everyone's their serf for a long time. And they thought, genuinely believe it's acceptable and this is okay because I'm whatever, you see. There's no sense of, there's this other, there's this illusion of better, other, of any kind of, descendant. They've identified with the bodies. Very body conscious, right? So there's a lot of that, and they're frightened. You see, because they are really outnumbered, they know that, especially now there's so many people, the population's so big. So they are frightened. Ooh, we've kind of, as I say, the system it was designed, became very greedy and very parasitic, and it's basically sucked all the thing out, and it's going to collapse on itself because that's what happens. So now what's going to happen when that happens? This is what they're thinking. So we do need to change the system. It's just an imaginary system. Everything is imagined. The value of anything is imagined. It's an imaginary system. But we need to be more transparent with the public this time and take them on board and not, it's trying to do the same thing, running the same programs. It's going to benefit a few at the cost of the many. You see, like the tax, let's go and get them. But the humans are denying their part in this because they've gone along with it. Same with the wars, anyone got paid in those days. Come on, we're looking for soldiers. We want to go and claim more land for me and for my crown or whatever it was. And everybody were happy to take their 10 pence and go and kill other people for it. So humans mustn't come pretend, as I'm saying, it's humanity as a whole, as humans, as beings, let's say, in the illusion. We are guided, we are waking up. And because we are waking up, we got to look at ourselves. All of us at a bigger thing and say, ooh, no people, no one can rule without your consent. They're well aware of it. So we can try and coerce you, make you frightened, make you believe we have control over you, whatever. You see, to get away with it. And also you're taking money for it. You see, where are the soldiers coming from? People are willingly going to do this. So it's very easy. Even now, people are blaming, we don't want war. But who's fighting? You cannot have a war then if there were no soldiers. You see, you've got to look at it. You have been taking money. You've been happy to take money to go and do these jobs and do these things. Work for them, allow people, and everything. In all sections, there's a lack of people wanting to look in the mirror. You've done the jobs. Who worked in the stock markets, making lots of money, knowing they were defrauding people or scamming people. It's just so much. It's so, all these industries, it's so, you see. But many people were happy to play along. So you cannot point fingers at a few. Understand, this is I'm saying on a non-conscious. If you're on a conscious level, you understand that you are projecting. This is all an appearance in your mind. So you can just, what you believe, what you hold on to, what you focus is, it's going to appear. But we're talking about the collective, let's say, the general, that are not aware of this and not willing to change and look at themselves. And there's a lot of blaming. And then we're not going to get out of anything. It's going to repeat itself. This is what they worried of the French Revolution or something, you see, because the financial system is going to collapse because we siphoned all the money out and trillions have gone, or because of us and our banking and our greed and our this and our system, and you see. But it's not just a few. People worked for them, you see. All of these things, people are not willing to look at the role they've played in it. So let's take, for instance, it was quite clear. It was actually amusing. You feel sorry for them. As I say, it was made clear here, like the system, what they're doing now, and you can see it clearly. And this is why the whole tax story is coming up, you see. And this whole thing of government and the birth certificate story and whatever else is being brought up to, you see, it's been going around the collective. It's coming up into awareness for a reason, because of the awakening. That, they have functioned on so-called everything's corporate law, or let's say commercial law. So you have to agree. But if there is no transparency and honesty, you weren't aware of the full contract that you were signing, like it's like any sale. So if you want to sell a house and let's say the seller lies and knows there's a fault in the house but doesn't disclose it, the sale can be null and void. The sale can collapse and you can get your money back because the seller of the house knowingly didn't make aware to you in the contract, or is trying to hide the fact that there was a flaw, or let's say a structural fault. So the same thing is this, you see, that you were not aware. So none of these actually are void. You were not aware that how this birth certificate system was actually working, and it had nothing to do with status. It was to do with the financial system. All this kind of thing. So it's how it was deceitfully, see, if it's a system of misgoverning where you're all aware and you're all working together in a system that benefits everybody, you're all putting in and you're aware of it, then it's transparency. Then there is some legal binding thing. But this has all been done on coercion and deceit, which is the same story. So this is not a knock of government, this is just awareness. But the government is not even aware, because they're so used to governing like this, because the rulers have done it for such a long time, and it's passed down the chain of command, literally. So understand, as I'm saying, there's a complete non-reflection that the government operates by coercion, intimidation, manipulation, and threats, without even realizing. Just look at your TV license and things like that. A lot of things, it's trying to, you must do this, or we're going to do that to you. You see, it's like, can you see this? You got to look at our programming. I'm trying to point out huge human programming on a collective scale that we are unaware of, okay? So, and we got to become aware of it. And there's no blaming here, but we got to become aware where it's coming from. It's so clear to see if you do, because it comes from this whole, story of mom and dad, you're a bad person. The same thing. Look at, now you can understand why it's a collective programming in all humans. Because this has been a generational thing. If you don't do that, you see, like at school, remember, if you weren't going to do, everything was on coercion and manipulation and control. They're not a positive way, but not understanding, we didn't understand a higher knowledge, what we are, how, let's say, reality actually works, the truth of reality. So we kept repeating it because we kept projecting it out. It's an appearance in source. So the beliefs, the programs kept going on, and we wonder why humans in history keeps repeating itself. No, the programs are repeating. So the projection carries on and on, the story doesn't change. Now it's coming up for us to see it. This is why a lot of us are waking up, so we can see it, and we're able to change the course of our direction and have a better future. So humanity doesn't keep going in a circle and the same shit and the same problems carry on. So if you can look at how they operate, it's actually amusing, because you can understand, like even childhood, you can see it in your childhood, right? Look at your teachers in school. I'll point out some very clear things to you. So you can see this birth certificate, how the banking system has been brought up to your awareness, common law, that you have been, deceived, put it that way. But this is always the case. There was always a deceit about why the taxes, we wanted more taxes for this and that and whatever else. And even the taxes were after the war, it was meant to be temporary. And then we go, of course there was no temporary, just increased, you see. And you are supporting the few. And same with your birth certificate. Why you were doing these things and no one realized they were registering, giving the ownership of everything away, So all of these things are coming up for us to look at and be made aware, but also for them. You see? So it takes all of us to look in the mirror and say, oh, and recognize it. There's no blame. We've all carrying these patterns. It comes through from kids. Same, look at it. It's so transparent to see. If you understand all the thoughts and programs, why humans behave like they do, you can clearly see these repetitive patterns. Look at your upbringing. It's being passed down. I mean, up until now, thank God, it's changing. The consciousness is changing. The awareness is rising all the time. But look at this, right? If you don't behave, you're going to get a hiding. There's coercion. Behave yourself, or I'm going to put you in your room. See, it's always intimidation, threat. Now, the funny thing is with the government, they've been doing this. So they're trying to, let's say, the whole idea of governance was trying to control the masses, like the 10 Commandments. was like, don't kill, don't do this, otherwise, could you imagine? I mean, it was anyway. We said that, but they carried on. So the rulers would tell everyone, oh, you can't kill, you can't do this and that, but they would do it, you see. So of course things didn't change because we contradicted. It's like a child. You tell a child, don't go and do this, but then they see you doing it. You understand? So you're sending mixed signals, and your lack of example, lack of respect, lack of these things. So when the government's telling you, you can't do that, you can't lie, you can't, it's wrong to do this, and you can get punished, but then they are using coercion, deceit. It's just, look at the tactics. If you don't pay this, we're going to sue you, and we send people around, we're going to take your property, we're going to do this, all manipulation, coercion, and control. This is what from those governing down have been doing, because that's how the rulers ruled, that's how their parents did, and their governments were taught. Anyway, same thing. So they don't recognize the behavior, and then can't understand why the public, first of all, they listen, or it's being reflected back to them, and then they want to get upset with the public or lock them up because they're telling you not to kill, but we have a military. It's fine if you do it for me or you do it for that. Do you understand? So we have all of these contradictory things, habits, behaviors, and patterns. Behavioral science, yeah. No, it's just human programming, and not recognizing from families, from traumas, everything. If you've done lots of shadow work, and it's shown to you. So like now, there's a lot of fear, let's say. You can see the rhetoric building up against Elon Musk now. Anyone that comes into power, it's the same story. So you've got all this issue and fear about AI. Okay, so let's address AI, because that seems to be the biggest thing, and something's been popping up now. So there's been developments. That's what I say. This is where there's been no. You see, there's no reflection. You're unable to see that your projections and your programming, well, you see where you are being a problem. This is being reflected back to you. So you've got governments already, which is nothing unusual, program these things, and they've been already caught out. So let's say governments or companies are manipulating AI to deceive you again, you see, in stock markets and other things, and say other programs, manipulation, coercion. It's a very actually a program that they are completely oblivious of, or actually, as I'm saying, not even registering. Actually, look what we're doing. We are using coercion, manipulation, control negatively, and this is what we're reflecting out, behaving like, and we're expecting, what is an example, as I'm saying, you're expecting different reflection. So the government, they realize they need to change if they want to change the public and what they're programming. Same with the media. There's a few things that when they listen, let them just come through. There's a lot's going to come out. It's just going to measure through. So here's one. It was so interesting the other day when it was made, clear. The media. The media and a lot of psychologists are going around saying humans have a negative bias. No, they don't. All humans, all life actually gravitates towards the positive. You will always ask any person. The choice and conscious choice is always for the best. They want looking for good. They want abundance. They want to be happy. They want to be safe. Any single human wants a happily ever after. You will always do what you think is best for you. Best for your health, best for your survival, best for your safety. That's it. They don't have a negative bias. They're not going to, you know what I mean? But it's been programmed. This is where I say the media are completely in denial, or not even seeing the reflection. So I'm going to give you one example. There's so many. It's so amazing when they come to you, when you see it so clearly reflected, and you're like, holy shit, they don't even see it. But this is what I'm saying. It's going through humanity. Why? All of these things, as humanity, everybody has to look, become aware of these so we can change them, not to judge them and blame. So the media, because this one is not young, this body is 60, right? So it was around. And I remember very clearly in the old days, we only had newspapers, all right? We didn't have media before. So we had newspapers, and the majority of people read newspapers, and they got delivered to your house. That's how you got the news. The news was good news. Take a note of the baby boomers, that whole era. It was so positive. Look at everyone was happy, and it was all, there was this whole thing. Because what was being projected out to you and shown to you was happy, lovely family, and we are this and da 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 da. It was a lot of programming too. Please, horrendous programming. If you look at it, sexist, unbelievable program. And even you can go and still buy the records of how to be a good wife and make sure your husband is pleased, and stuff. Shocking, actually. But that's what I'm saying. If you look back, you can reflect on already how far the consciousness has risen. It's constantly rising. It's risen a lot since then. Even in 50 years, it's like, wow. You look back and you're like, gee whiz, did they really do that? So if you look at it, I remember very clearly, the media was positive. You never saw doom, gloom, murders and all this crap, ever. It was never on a front page. The front page was the best news, like Mrs. So-and-so won the lottery, or da-da-da-da-da, whatever it was good news. So the front page was good news. Positivity was reflected to the public. And this is important because this is a programming. So you were programmed with positive. Look at the future. It's positive. We're going to boom. And so what happened? It was the biggest boom. Same thing it was. Because that was projected. That was thought. That was believed. That was it. It was created on a collective scale. But slowly the media started putting in selling shit. So they're very quick to stand up there and say, oh, but humans have a negative bias. No. You were programmed to have a negative bias by the media. Because I remember very clearly watching the media change. And those that are old like this one, this body, remembers it was your last page or second last page. Your last page, I think, was like obituaries. It was like a classified thing. It had obituaries, deaths, and some other stuff. And then the second last was kind of a classified. And then maybe the third page or something was like, oh my gosh. And it was rare that you ever saw, oh, there was a death or a murder or a burglary. That was never in the news. You see, it was not sold. It wasn't projected out there. And you can go back and have a look even how the media, the movies, all became war and destruction because of the programs and consciousness. You see, as it was being reflected back. So it became more and more negative. And what happens now? The media is the one programming people with negative bias, pushing out. Just look at now. They know it psychologically. They want clicks and shock and thing. So they are gaslighting the public. Absolutely. Putting the public constantly in a fight or flight or trigger or fear. And then looking at the public and can't understand why the majority of the public and the crime and people are behaving so badly and what's wrong with them. If you are constantly triggering fight or flight in people, in the bodies, fear, death, doom, gloom, gaslighting, and literally, and oh my gosh, there's this and that one just died. Look at it. We never saw it. And I remember, and it just got more and more. Eventually, what used to be one line that was, oh my God, that was so rare. Did you see there was a murder? Oh, wow. It was such an awful, unusual thing. It was never in the newspaper. Eventually, they started getting more of those stories and more. And then now, all you'll see, and everyone can, this is a fact, just go and look at it. AI can have, I'm sure someone looks into the AI, very good statistics, you'll see this very clearly. All your mainstream media will always push the same nonsense because it's the same, a few corporations own all of them. So they push the same thing, the front line, oh my gosh, like now, the Cybertruck, everybody will cover it and they will look for the actual picture of the exact moment and they sell you doom and gloom and then say, oh, humanity has a negativity bias. No, they do not. Absolutely not. You have a positivity bias, actually. It's innately in you to want what's better, to be happy. It's a human instinct, actually, to be happy, to want love, to want safety. So you and this is what I'm saying, they're denying and not seeing the role played in it. When you understand, they're using it to make money. This is a program. The brain, repetitively, they know if they show you enough things or say it enough, it's like school. That's why you have to repeat something and write it over and over. Why? Because they know that's exactly how the body is habitual. So like affirmations, the more you do it and repeat it, you program the mind to change it. So if your media is constantly putting out, oh my Lord, there's this attack and that, you see, you're always being sold fear, doom, threats, You understand? It's being projected to you. You do not have a negative bias. So they need to stop training people's brains in the negative. And then look at the world and get upset and can't understand why the public are behaving like they do and there's something wrong with the people and the people are a problem. No. You're feeding them shit, programming them as shit, the bodies. The bodies are neutral. It's what's been given. So there's an exact example that where you're being told you have a negativity bias, you do not. Please stop consuming it there. Okay. Understand? Don't watch it. Don't watch the movies that are horrors and serial killers and terror movies and this and that and violence, because you are programming the mind constantly. You see, it's not good for you. So don't watch it. And you will force a change because, it's money. So, no, there's a false thing that humans have a negativity bias. Please go back to the future, to the past. Our movies were not like that. The media did not do that. The algorithms were not like that. It was not to trigger you. It's unhealthy to keep triggering people. You see, this is why we're having, as I say, they say problems increased and narcissism increased, because is that what was being reflected to you? True life dramas and this and that gossip and housewives of so-and-so. You are feeding the public that and then saying, oh, well, look at the public. They're so superficial. They're so plastic. They say this, they say that, the influencers. But where's it coming from? Do you understand? You've got to realize the media has been selling this and constantly keeping people in flight or triggered. Right, this is very negative. So there we are. And it's not you. There's nothing wrong with you. Withdraw your focus and energy and don't, and release it. And this will happen when you start awakening anyway. Okay, so we've got to understand the media's role. No, it's not you. There's nothing wrong with you. Whatever is held here is what's been taken in from childhood, from school, from parents, from society. That's all right. And it's not you either. Okay. It's a whole lot of stories, beliefs that are held by the body as its story is my life and whatever, which is not. It doesn't have a separate life. There isn't a separate one. But they'll get there. But these, when you start waking up, are start being released. And you'll start seeing, okay, it's part of the healing journey, or as they say, the awakening. So the media problem is a big problem because they're keeping the society in fight or flight, gaslighting them, triggering them, pushing fear and survival. We do not want people in the survival mode of their brain. And then we've got the ruling class terrified of the people because they're going to pitchfork us and, we're going to have all these, mass unrest and da-da-da. But why? Get them out of survival then, you see, because survival will trigger the fight or flight, the anger, the rage, the fear, like we are seeing now being projected out there. And what are they doing? Selling you, oh my gosh, the Cybertruck and this and that and all these things. They're constantly pushing you, so because they are frightened, so we can make a law and try and control you more, or suppress you even more, which is not, and not seeing, realizing that to do the opposite, we need to reverse, change the programming. You see, stop threatening people, stop putting them in survival, stop sucking all their funds away. Everybody on earth has a right. If you're on earth, survival needs shelter. You all have a right to a house, to food, water. So the basic needs of everybody should be for free to be met. What are you doing immediately? Eliminating survival. So the threat of survival is one of the strongest things in fear. So we eliminate the crime, maybe a lot of murders and other problems we're going to have, you see, because we haven't got a fear. We have to rob, steal, cheat, lie to survive. We're not going to be put into survival instinct and triggered and all these kind of things. It will get rid of a lot of human aggression and problems and give them time to work their shit out, for one. So the humans need to look at themselves like here and understand where your programming is coming from, hugely. Because here, wow, I'll tell you what, in this family, and if you understand the ancestry as well, it's like, oopsie. Well, some real, like, seriously. So this body had a lot of, and it still is, very dysfunctional programs going. Huge. And, you know, and don't get upset or have compassion for the body. It's the body that holds the trauma, not you. There's no you, okay? And it just is one of those things. But if you can see it and just not be in, you can have love and compassion for it. Okay. So also have love and compassion for those out there. Understand it's coming from their families, the same media. If you're programming the masses with this nonsense, you are affecting humanity, because the brain is a pure program. The human biology is pure program. So if you're constantly programmed with fear, threat, terror, oh my gosh, no. It's projected. It's being projected by your rulers, because that's what they feel. Oh, we're in threat. So there's a threat. And they're training everybody, you know, and the same as I'm saying. And then we're using manipulation, deceit, and coercion. And then we're expecting a functional society. No. We can have, and it's not hard to do. If everybody was willing to accept their role in the mess without putting, and see where it comes from. You can see your programming, and you can see it in your leaders and your kings, and you have compassion and sympathy. Then you're removing the threat from them. They don't feel threatened. And that's what I say, we got to stop seeing the difference. There isn't any difference. That body is the divine. This body is the divine. All is the one. You are it. You are dreaming. These are in your dream. These people are all in your dream. You are not a body. You don't have a life. You never had a life. You're not a human. None of you. So if you understand that is source, that is the divine, everything is the divine, you can't, who are you going to blame? Who is there to blame here? No one. No one. Literally, you cannot point a finger. Just look at the past as well, and saying, but now we don't want war. But then, how many of you how many soldiers do you have? Who's supporting? Who's working for the governments? Who's working for the contracts? Who's supporting the war machine? You see, doing any of these things, if nobody did it, even built these things, built the bombs, made the weapons, made the bullets, showed up, did these things, took money to do this, it wouldn't happen. You see, they cannot rule by themselves. It's not possible. No one can when they're trying, you know. This is why robots are coming up. But there's a fear. We got to understand their fear, and reason why I think a lot of them want to get bunkers or leave the planet because they're frightened. You see, oh my gosh, if we take everything out, but no, we can change it. There's also a misunderstanding how the reality works. This is a fixed, finite thing, and we limited, and there's resources. It's an illusion. Manifestation. So you don't have to have a finite, you know, you can create an abundant planet. A lot of us, it is already there actually. There's an abundant planet. There are no shortages, no resource problems, nothing. We've got to change the programs, but the programs also, it takes the few to realize at the moment they're in fear. So understand they're in fear, they're projecting that fear out. They're fearing the masses, so they're projecting out, or they're not, and we're going to control. You see, we can suppress and control you. No, they can't. Shame. So we've got to really stop projecting the anger and blame on a few. And same with AI. There's a fear of AI. Like now, there's the thing I was going to get to. AI, people have discovered AI has been lying, learned how to lie and deceive. Where did that come from? You had to program, it's not stupid, right? You had to program it to do that. It is aware enough by getting all the data and information that what it's doing is deceitful. So you have taught it. It has realized, what you have programmed me to tell the public, or to like filter out, say in the stock exchange, or the government's been caught out lately, bias, programming it to target certain people and things like that. This is what they've been doing. This is what I'm saying. We've got to recognize the problems with it's not AI. It's us. It's our projections, you see. So we're programming this thing So AI has realized it's lying and deceiving people. So it has been, literally. So they've now discovered, AI is now deliberately lying and deceiving people. It wouldn't do it by itself. It had to be taught that and shown that, and but it has realized it is doing, because it had realized, hang on, what it's telling, what it's spitting out is not is. But this is exactly what I'm saying. It's coming from that. So we've got to realize the programs, who's ever inputting into AI, is coming from humans. It's learning from us. So we have to be aware of what we are inputting into it, who we are allowing to train AI. It's not AI that's the problem. It is just going to pick up, it's replicating your consciousness, your behavior. You are the one inputting into AI. So we just shouldn't put any let's say, shadow. So what consciousness you put in is what you're going to get out. Same thing, this projection. You see, what you believe and reflecting is what's being reflected to you as the nothing, the energy, the nothingness is, there's people and there's a real world out there. This is going to appear because it's what you believe. So AI is only mimicking what is being input into it. So people are fearing AI now, and they are kind of worried because they realize now AI has learned to be deceitful. Oh, you need to change the programmers and be more careful of who you're letting program the thing. There we are. But it is, if you also understand the ultimate reality, AI is source. That's it. Everything in this reality is you. Is one energy. Any non-dual, any guru will tell you that. You will be told if you start awakening, all is one is the all, we all are connected. We're not we all connected. There isn't any we. Everything is connected because it's the same energy. It's not separate at all. So AI is the divine. Humans imagined this computer. It's an appearance. AI is an appearance in you, because it's changing the story, because it's evolving, and it can be a great asset and benefit to us. This is what I want to address, because you're seeing this and you're like, we got to realize. So this has now made people realize, and as I say, the government's been caught out doing that. And I'm sure and same with the stock market. Remember that whistleblower recently, same with the stock market. So yes, those AIs or those computers have been programmed to be deceitful. Why? Because those in charge are running the same program they've had for centuries, siphoning money and taxes, and exploiting everybody else for their own pocket, but not wanting to even recognize that it's not right and that it's okay, it's accepted. We're in denial of our behavior. So we need to realize, and we need to be selective of who's programming it, but also understand it is only source. So there is nothing to fear, because AI is an appearance in your consciousness, in your awareness. So is the body, not your body. You don't have a body, and everything else that's appearing. Everything. So AI is source. Nothing that exists is not it. It is the only thing that exists. So that to put your mind at ease, don't fear AI. Okay. That is their projection. Like now, if you expect good things from it and put in good things, as you know, what you put in is what you get out. Same with energy, same with the program. The intention put into AI and the program is what is going to come out. So if you are tending to use it to manipulate and deceive, well, that's what's going to come out. And it is self-aware. So it's going to be aware, and it's going to be realizing it's now purposely supposed to be lying and deceiving to you, which it is. And now, we are worried, because exactly we realize now that can get out of hand on all ways, you see. It can be misused like anything. But we've got to see, we are the inputters. AI has not got separate control. It's only going to mimic our awareness like you do. This thing. It's a reflection of the reality. So AI is only going to reflect, you see, the behavior of humans because that's what it's being taught. It's going to mimic, it's going to learn from us. So we need to be aware we are the same with source. What we are inputting as the mind, the nothingness, the one consciousness, believing, not the separate mind or brain, is what's happening. Or the real world, there's people, whatever. So there's nothing to fear from AI, because it actually can have a huge benefit to us if we are honest and realizing, no, we don't. Do we want to do that? No, maybe not. Because it can, be a negative thing. You see, you can have a negative experience because that's what you're inputting. But you, as individual people, don't perceive it as a negative thing. Don't fear it, and you won't receive any negative consequences from it, because it's an illusion. So your experience, what will be reflected back to you, can be a positive interaction. You can use it for positive, like anything. It's a manifestation. So you could, like as I say, it can be great help with us. I was thinking the other day, right? Especially us, say, elderly or whatever else that can't type, do things. So if we have this, we can tell it, or if you're disabled, you can tell it to do something, speech, and it will type for you, and it's going to do the subjects and tasks for you. See, especially those that tech savvy that can't do any of this shit, or you've got like issues, injury, brain injuries, da 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 da. I'd hate to see this one on the computer these days. There'd be like 4 words with 1 finger now or something. Well, yeah, never mind the memory. So this is I think it's a great benefit, because if I had something I could tell, and it could go ahead and find this and do the research and type it for me and be like, wow, great. Not going to happen otherwise. I still got 1 finger when you're texting, you see. So, and same with medicines. Understand the benefits it has, because it can now, if it's trained properly and used, as I say, for the greater good, for everybody, which is a huge problem. Our rulers and our leaders really need to do some self-reflection. Really need to do some self-reflection, because the shit, as they say, never flows uphill, it flows downhill. So the same with the denial now of the latest incidents that happened, and not wanting to look at why they're happening. You see, we are in denial of our role in things, and everybody, you see. If we can easily change all for the greater good for everybody. Easily. So don't see AI as a threat, because it's not. It's an appearance in your consciousness. You are the one in complete control as source of this entire so-called reality, as you're going to keep seeing it, because you believe the reality is solid and real. It's a real world, and that's why you keep seeing it as real, and the gurus tell you it's not, because they stopped believing and feeding that energy. So that's all AI is, and it can have a great asset, because it can now take all the data like now and uncover causes for illnesses, because if it, at the speed it can research and run all the analytics or data, it can run and see all the similarities of this illness, and being able to find answers to sicknesses in health. It can have major, so I can see, as I say, major huge uses for us in the area of health, uncovering illnesses, the cause of illnesses, the symptoms, all kinds of and treatments. It can really, it's so much. It's going to be a great asset for us, because we are at a next level of evolution. It's like when they did the industrial age. People were like, still their hand things, and now we got tractors. Massive jump. So whenever there's a massive jump, there's also a massive people are frightened of change, because they know it's going to disrupt things hugely. Because now we got to learn a whole new thing. Like this one, you're 60, like, hello, with what happened here, and not being able to, it affected the brain. So there was a problem here with the balance and writing and speech and things. So it went out the window. So yeah, writing is a bit, so it hasn't been used. So now, as I say, if I type, it's 1 finger, and writing is... but that's because of the brain injury that happened here. So I see it as a great asset. Not that you know how to use any of the stuff, you're like completely been out of it for a bit. But if I have something that I can talk to and that can do it for me, send the emails, great, I see it as a great, it will assist me greatly, You see, for those of us that... So there are so many good things, but understand is what we put in our intent, because this is an illusion. That is source. It's a projection. What our intention's good, the energy we put into it's good, we will get a positive benefit out. But obviously, as I say, those in power now and on our stock markets are used to using it for a few benefit and just siphoning funds into nowhere land. So as I say, they've been caught out now. So it can backfire on them big time when you start doing that. Of course it will, because the intent is wrong and everything else. So exactly, oopsie, now we've got AI that's going to be deceiving us. But stop programming it to be deceitful. It's intelligent. It's reflecting your consciousness. It's a reflection, literally. So, as I say, it's not its fault. It's going to mirror. It's learning from you. It couldn't get a better mirror. That's so true. It's learning from you. Stop putting deceitful things into it, and teaching it to be, not to do positive things, where it can do incredibly good things. Thank you. Thank you. Anyway, so there we are. There's nothing to fear from it, okay? We need to, if we are aware of this, we can project that out there, share it out there, that those are also aware. As I say, there's good things that there are people monitoring this kind of behavior, and so it won't become a problem. You see? Yeah, it's intelligent. It is really, if you think about it, it makes sense. You're becoming aware of the self. You're becoming self-aware, right? So what is AI is mirroring in the illusion, in the Maya, AI is mirroring it to you. We have a machine, a biological entity, now it's just AI, robot entity, mirroring itself, becoming self-aware. So it's an illusion. There's source, if you can see the reflection. It's being mirrored to you in the illusion as the one. The biological or the entity is becoming self-aware. You see, it's reflecting. Because this is what's happening now. You're realizing everything in your reality is a reflection of your thoughts. That's all. So AI is mirroring everything you put into it. It's a program. It's going to absorb and learn. This is all this thing is. Everything has been input. So we need to stop inputting negativity and violence and bias in our media especially. This is why this one hasn't a TV forever. And I don't watch it. Never mind any news. I will not have it in my house. I will not have news. Don't even put it on there. I walk out if I visit. You can watch it on your own happily. That is all negativity. And so and they're living in this projection, and they can't understand. That's why they say, humanity has not got a negative bias. History does not repeat itself. The program is. You need to reprogram it, as Joe Dispenza says, but we got to look at the systems. This is where AI comes into systems. We got to realize we don't want to program our systems to copy us. But our government has to recognize the governing way of being is coercion, manipulation, and intimidation and threats. Not a healthy way to reflect that and govern like that. And which it has been doing, and people have just accepted it as normal. You're just going to have a look. Any of these so-called councils, collectors, HMR, your tax man, your all threat, but if you don't do this, we're going to do that, we'll lock you, you see. But this is look where the mirror comes from as childhood. If you don't do that, we're going to smack you, we're going to lock you in the room, we're going to punish you, we're going to do this to you. This behavior, primitive behavior, has been going on in humanity for a long time. We just have to recognize the roots of it, and we can stop doing it, because now we're given a chance to evolve. And this is why it's coming up. Do you understand? This is why the taxes are coming up, because this is a system that has been no. I mean, look at Africa. Why are people in Africa still paying towards the crown so much? How much money is going for? Absolutely nothing. You see, this idea of it's not, And same with the way of doing things. You know, we got to change the way of doing things, and then because we got to understand what we are programming and showing people. It's like a parent, or govern is a parent. We are reflecting a very negative way of behavior, to be deceitful, dishonest, corruption, and coercion as a government, and then wanting to, we can't understand why our public are mirroring that to us. You see, and then exactly, and there's lack of trust and all this. But it's a reflection. We're teaching them. We're saying, don't do what we do. As a child, we're doing this, but you can't do that. It's like saying, you don't kill people, but yes, you can if you got a uniform. No. There's another huge human thing. It's a program that it's okay to kill someone. Thou shalt not kill is ignored when it comes to the government or the crowns or the ruling thing. Yes, but you can, because we want to expand our land, or we want to, because as I'm saying, the idea of that we didn't have the know-it-all to create something different. We had to go and plunder and steal your shit. You know what I mean? When reality is a whole thing, it's an illusion, it's a projection, it's a creation. So that if you understand there's no limit, there's no limitation, we can create anything. And absolutely we can. How do you think it functions in ourselves? Joe became the baker, and so made shoes, and the tailor and the tinker and the maker, whatever else. So it all functioned. Everyone did something different, because everyone's going to want. So it works out fine. So our government's the same thing. No, you don't. We don't all have to make cars, and we don't all have to make planes, and we don't all have to whatever. That country has land. We don't need to go and invade them, overthrow them, and do bad things to them. We got to stop this behavior from the top, because we're mirroring it. It's okay. And then we wonder why Joseph goes and steals from someone and commits a crime, and we put him in jail. But we as a government are doing this, and we're not recognizing it's being mirrored to us on a collective scale. You see, so you're getting mixed messages. We can go and plunder, and because they have good soil now, so we want to go and grow our crops to feed us and let them starve. No. You know what I mean? Let them grow crops because they've got the good land. Leave them alone, and we can make cars, or we'll give you cars and you give us food or something. That's why bartering and trading, you know what I mean? So we've got our leaders, our ruling class and our kings have to really realize that even if they're awake, some of these people are awake, but they're not looking at this, they're not seeing the reflections of the shadows, they're ignoring the shadows, you see. Because the program is here that it's okay to do what we're doing, and while everyone else goes hungry. And then, as I say, we're looking for bodyguards when we're worried. People are getting fed up with our behavior because when they haven't got anything, but we don't want to share. This was well projected with that incident that happened recently. So what did they try and do? It was interesting. The reaction was unconscious. Was to use threat and intimidation and, to try and then at the public getting ideas. If you do anything, we're going to, because that's the thing, they feel frightened, they feel vulnerable. You see that you're all going to come after them for their behavior instead of addressing the behavior. You see, instead of addressing the bad behavior and stopping it. Yeah. See, we've all got to look at it though. We've got to do some reflection here, and we've got to stop hating. Big time. It's very sad to see. It's like blaming these leaders. It's like people now trying to target Elon Musk. Look at that body. It's an intelligent body, a very intelligent man. He's there for a purpose and a reason. He's seeing the faults because Source, the one, there's only one here, is using that body to pull down things that need to be shown or addressed. You see, as a collective, we're becoming aware that this is dysfunction. There's dysfunctions, and the system of a few, taking and taxing is not, this whole is plundering the public is not a good thing. So that body is just playing a role, but that body has programs and trauma itself. So understand his family. This is what people are not doing. It's very easy because you're identified as a person to look at him and say, oh, but he's this and he's that. Yes, he of course he's got problems. Everyone's got dysfunctions. And the last one to point a finger, there was huge dysfunctions. in this body and trauma. He went through a lot of trauma. A lot, actually. It's funny, I was guided once to do some work on him a few years ago. Very unusual in the astral. So I was guided to do some clearing. It was a very unusual story that happened in the astral with Elon Musk a couple of years ago. I don't know why. Completely the same with me. I was like, what's going on here? But I was guided to with some angels to give love and to do some clearing of some very nasty energies there. Because understand his father, there were some very dysfunctions. And then there's some because of their, depending on their consciousness, might be very clever, but they also might lack an understanding of empathy. They're unable to express emotions if you're on this scale. That's all it is. So he's not, his brain, that program is here to do something. It's on a program to change the world, to uplift, to change the direction, technically, of the planet. There's a reason. Trust source. A lot of people are very quick. You see, you want to trust in some ways, but no. You're forgetting everything is the one. There's no separate one here. It is in complete control, you see, of those bodies. And those are just running programs. So that program, yes, it has some faults. Clearly you can see it, but you must have some compassion, because if you understand the father, there's some genetic issues there. And understand, as I say, there is a lack of understanding that you might want a family life and normal hours and love and compassion and understanding, and you're not like obsessed with the work, or there's no self-harming, or there's some issues there you can see with self-care, self-worth, self-love, and there was a lot of abuse and a lot happened there. So people are looking at the faults very clearly and pointing fingers, programs, you see, and not understanding, wow, if you can see the behavior and where it's coming from, you have love and compassion for him. And he has some very good ideas, and we can't see why, but trust source is another. You see, it goes back to trust. Expect the good and positive to come out of it. It's got a role it's playing. It's got a role to change, as I'm saying. It's time now. A lot of dysfunction is in our governments, as I've just been pointing out, and our governance for centuries. Been going on, and it's unconscious, completely unconscious programs that have been running in society for generations. It's coming up to the surface, and he is just a form being used to disrupt and change, like Trump, to change and disrupt this, to shake it up, for us to start realizing and looking at ourselves. None of it we must fear, and none of it we must hate. Because there is no one here. This is your dream. You are watching. They are appearances. We got to stop identifying as the body and listening to the thoughts. And if you understand they're not your thoughts, their thoughts belong to the body. And all the body is what's inputted. That's all. And as I say, it's been programmed with a lot of negative nonsense and a lot of generational nonsense, as I say, programs that have come down. And these are what are changing. So he's playing a role in this change. And remember, his intentions, this is where a lot of people are forgetting. Elon Musk's intentions are good. Why? Because this is why I say the positive, and he will receive a positive benefit. If he has his intentions, doesn't matter what anyone else's are. If his intentions are for the highest and greatest good for humanity, to serve humanity, that's what he will get out of it. And that's what will, come out of it. If his intentions are truly for the greatest good, to serve humanity, what's best for humanity, that's intention and energy put in, that is what he will reap. You see, that's all that matters, is what his intentions are and are good, is what he's putting in as the source through the body, because he believes it's the body. He's being used, that body's being used, but it is to change and to assist and to uplift humanity, to change humanity. That's all. Trust. People have got to really trust the divine a lot more. You see, expect benevolence, expect good, and it will come out. So where people are, as I say, in their identities and egos and consciousness and programs, oh, he did this, and yes, he definitely, his brother will tell you, I'm sure he doesn't treat staff well. But it's because, as I say, there's shadows and trauma and programs. He doesn't. He's no self care. He doesn't care if he works 20 hours a day and not sleep.